Hello, welcome to the Game Philosopher, where we talk about anime, manga, gaming, philosophy, politics, and as of right now, warfare and history. So, one of my favorite channels on YouTube, in particular with the historical analysis, is Historia Civilis. They make so many great videos on Roman warfare, Greek warfare, politics, in the ancient world. It's all very interesting, and I noticed that there was some misconceptions that he has that are actually pretty common when it comes to the phalanx. And these phalanx misconceptions are taught a lot in schools, in fact, and by mainstream historian commentators. But the question is, what is a phalanx? Is it a square, tough formation, or tight-knit formation ready to receive an enemy, impenetrable at the front, in a group of Greek hoplites? Well, my friends, we will learn today what is more correct. The only ones we should trust on any matters, of course, are not any more than those who have done them. So we will only be relying on the documents of the ancient Greek strategos and philosophers to tell us what is true and what is false. Now, the first guy who I'm going to rely on is called Asclepius, a Roman, actually of Greek descent, who was a philosopher from the Stoic tradition who wrote on warfare. In fact, he actually wrote on Laconian, Theban, and Macedonian warfare. And according to him, the phalanx is the assembly of all files constitute a phalanx, in which the rank of the file leaders is called the front, or metaphone. The length is called the mikos. The face is the prosophone. The mouth is called the stoma. The marshalling partaxes. The head of the file is called the protologia. The front line, or the first line, is proton zygon. That actually sounds like a pretty good sci-fi name. Am I right? And the rank behind this is consisting of the rear rank men, running the length of the phalanx, is called the second line, and the rear parallel to this behind is the third line, and the line behind this is the fourth, similarly the fifth and the sixth, and so on down the file, closer, but taken all together, everything behind the front of the phalanx is called the def, and the file, from the filer leader to the filer closer, is called the file and def. And those who stand behind one another in this formation are said to form a file, but from those who stand side by side are said to form a rank. When the phalanx is bisected by a line running from front to rear, one half is called the right wing and the other is called the left, while the point division is called the navel and the joint. From this, we seem to get a very excellent view on what is a phalanx. It is not just anything more than a part of the order of battle or the formation. So much that we can actually assume that the formation is a phalanx. In fact, Asclepius offers us a few different parogoe, or linear marches, that teach us more formations phalanx can do. The convex, concave columns, marching by flank, checkerboard, half square inward, half square outward, full square, etc. However, what would another Greek teach us? Polybius, a man who was known for his political essays in his histories, thought that practical history was the most important way to go for any writer of politics or history. or even warfare. And when he was talking about the phalanx, he said that when the phalanx has its characteristics, virtue, and strength, nothing can sustain its frontal attack or withstand the charge. It can easily be understood for many reasons. Since when it has closed up for action, each man with his arms occupies a space of 3 feet in breadth, and the length of the pikes is, according to the original designation, 16 cubits, but as adapted to the actual need for 14 cubits, from which we must subtract that the distance between the bearer's 2 hands and the length of the weighted 10 proportions of the pike, behind which serves to keep it crouched 4 cubits. All in all, it is evident that we must extend 10 cubits behind the body of each hoplite when he charges the enemy, grasping it with both hands. The rank of those ranks extends 2 cubits behind the bodies of men in the first rank when the phalanx has its characteristics close order as regard both in depth and in breadth. However, as Homer expresses it within the verses, spear crowded, spear, shield, helmet, man pressed, helmet, and man shield, the hairy chest of their resplendent casque kiss close together, every knot so wedged that they stood. So, pretty much, he's talking about the close-knit formation that most people think of in this instance, but if we take both together, that's not necessarily just the close order, a battle used by the Greeks, but if this is indeed true, then let's see what Asclepiadotus has to say. He says that doubling of place is performed by the deaf when we can change the compact formation by deaf into a loose formation when the interjected men countermarch by foul. So we must admit, therefore, that the idea of a compact formation or close order formation alone as the phalanx is ultimately wrong, that the strict idea of a completely linear compact formation of shields locked together and pressed, that itself is a mode of operation that may be performed by phalanx, but it's not the phalanx itself. So now we established that the phalanx is the order of battle and the army itself organized. So now it's time to conclude that the great phalanx, as for a long time, even with the evidence so clear in sight, has been affected by the sophistries used by many historians who are arrogant in their contemporary knowledge and refuse to look at primary sources, and that they are indeed wrong. We cannot allow ourselves to lose sight of the need for primary sources in history, especially with the organization like the phalanx, while its different divisions of the phalanx were ultimately defeated by the Romans, was the greatest invention in history and the basis for all military science and tactics. This is the Game Philosopher, Historia Civilis. If you're watching, or Civis, if you're watching, please recognize that I am a big fan of yours, but I just wanted to get this video out there so that people would understand what the phalanx actually is. And I hope that you watch this video and you consider the evidence. I'll see you guys next Wednesday when we talk about Aristotle.